Hey all, Mark Vega here. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here a while, well, you know how this starts. Every episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast starts the same way, on the run. Not in a studio, not behind a desk, but in motion. Because this show is about two simple ideas: running long after 60 or running long after 60. This podcast is not about speed or podiums or shortcuts. It's about durability and curiosity and adaptation. It's about people who have navigated life's successes and failures and injuries and setbacks and detours, but they chose engagement over retreat. Sometimes that means running. Sometimes it means walking or even rebuilding, but it always means moving forward. Today's guest fits that to a T. I'm joined by Miriam Gilbert, UltraMiriam. She's an artist and a writer and an ultrarunner, and she really embodies gratitude in motion. Miriam has faced serious challenges: illness, including cancer, injury, caregiving responsibilities, but instead of letting that slow her down, she's engaged her movement in a way to honor life itself. This conversation is hopeful and grounded and deeply human. So with that, I think it's time for UltraMiriam, Miriam Gilbert. Let's go. And here we are, another episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast. We have at UltraMiriam with us today. Miriam Gilbert is here. Miriam, thank you. This is the second go around, but there are so many precious gems in our first conversation. I didn't want any of them to get cut out. So thank you for coming back on the podcast, or coming on the podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me the first time and for having me the second time. So it's all good. I'm happy to be here. Like I said in an email, I have the gift of gab, so.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think gab is one thing. I think it's guidance. That's the thing I told you. Like, when we are not younger, we are older, and that means we have a lot of stories to tell, and yours are just so... they're so good. So before I pull you backwards into history, let's talk about today, like right now. When you wake up in the morning, what makes you feel the most alive in your life today, right now?
Well, I have a very good routine. When I get up in the morning, I journal. That's important to me. I also have to prepare to take care of my hens, Ruby and Rosie. That's important. I like to, my hens are wonderful. And because I'm retired, I don't have to go to work. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to wear or anything like that. And I'm training now for the Endless Endurance 06-day 144-hour track ultra, and that's just 2 months from now. So I'm excited about that. So I have my training and I have my writing. I write. I'm working on a cookbook, and I also paint. So my day is really just filled with just wonderful things to do. I'm never bored, never. And that's how my day starts. And when I go to bed, as soon as I hit the pillow, I'm out. And it's great, And the other thing I've learned as I'm getting older, I just turned 67 in January, I need my afternoon nap.
Oh.
So, yes, it's very important because we really need to take care of our brain. There's not a lot emphasis or enough emphasis on brain health. And I know that, as we get older, we sometimes get forgetful. We forget where we put things. And so it can only be 20 minutes or 25 minutes, and boom, I get re-energized. And that's what I do at Ultras. I take my naps in multi-day Ultras. And even in a 24-hour Ultra, I can take 5 to 10-minute naps. And you are so recharged after you take that nap. And so that's my routine. And I like to bake. When the weather's nice in the spring, the summer, I do a lot of gardening and flower gardening. So I'm always moving constantly. My husband, John, calls me a shark because he says that when sharks stop moving, they die. So I must continue to move at all times. Yeah.
That's true.
We're the opposite. He's laid back, and I'm like, let's get moving. Like I force him to go out with me on my training runs or my power walks. And 2 days ago we went out and I said, John, I want to do intervals. So we'll just go, for an hour, 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back. And I run back and forth to you. And so we both get in our miles and it works. It's good.
Sounds perfect. Where are we speaking to you from? Where are you at? Where are you located?
I live, John and I live in the East Coast in New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
And we live in New Jersey. I'm originally from Connecticut, where I was born and raised, and my father and my sisters still live there. My mom sadly passed away this summer, 3 months short of her 100th birthday.
Aww.
And she was an amazing walker. She never learned to drive. We walked everywhere where we lived in Connecticut. So I get my walking from her, definitely. Yeah, she's a wonderful walker. May she
That's
rest
very
in
sweet.
peace.
Did your sister walk too?
My sisters are lazy. They don't do any walking. Yeah, I mean, they walked with, but none of them is athletic. None of them.
Okay.
They're lazy. Yeah, they don't do much.
Okay.
True.
Do you identify yourself when you describe yourself to people? What are the first words you use? Do you use ultrarunner or athlete or artist or?
Oh,
what are the words you use?
Question. Well, I suppose it depends on who I'm talking to, but I might say, I'm Miriam. That's who I am, or depending on who I'm talking to, I might say I'm retired, or if I'm talking to a group of runners, or, I'm an ultra runner. I think I'm an ultramarathoner now and a power walker because I don't run like I used to, but I still do the distances, but with a very different way. And I started painting 5 years ago during the pandemic after I lost my adjunct professor position. And so I suppose, I used to say I'm a self-taught artist, and I'm very proud of that. Some of the best artists in the world have been self-taught. But now that I have almost 5 years under my belt, and I have participated in 9 exhibitions and 1 solo exhibition, and I received second place honors for one of my paintings this past summer, I just call myself a painter. Because that's what I do. I play with paint and I create. And I love painting, just like I love ultra running. I love everything that I do, writing and baking. And I forgot to mention, I also knit. I'm a knitter. I knit a lot. I just finished, I'm on my 7th scarf right now. So, yeah, I like to knit.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's important for people to hear, that you are a painter. That's a great descriptor. And it's as though sometimes it sounds like you felt like you had to do so much until you earned the right to say painter. But I'm so glad, whatever that path was, that you're a painter. And I'll put up the links on the show notes. And it's great work. I love your work because somehow, Miriam, it's so personal. And it's not like you're just painting, yourself necessarily, right? It's these landscapes, and it's people. It makes you feel like you're places you really visited, like you're right there. And bravo.
Thank you. I think a recurring theme in my paintings is nature. and all that nature has to offer us. Peace and calm and spirituality. And nature is very meditative. The reason I started painting, this was never part of the plan. It was never on my to-do list.
Okay.
Now that I'm home, the pandemic, and I don't have that was the end of my last semester teaching. And I remember that probably at that time, 10 years previous, I had given John and one day he said, I want to learn how to paint. So I really listen to people when they speak. And when he said that, I said, oh, now I know what to get him for Christmas. So I got him all these canvases and paints and brushes. And you know what? He never painted a thing, didn't open anything. So go forward to maybe now 15 years, and that's when he's been diagnosed with stage 4 colorectal cancer. So then I thought, I'll start painting now because it'll help him to cope, and I'll encourage him. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I know why he never painted, because I forgot to buy the easel. So for Father's Day that year, I got an easel. Do you know what? He never opened it. So I said, all right, enough is enough. But then it's like the spirit talked to me and said, Miriam, get those canvases and paints from downstairs. They're in John's office. And that's exactly what I did. And I was outside under our gazebo tent, and I see this beautiful sunflower that we didn't plant, but, birds poop and flowers grow. And from my ginger root plant, it was a beautiful ginger root plant and this beautiful sunflower, and I decided to paint that. I didn't know what I was doing. Nothing. It was like I was in 3rd grade, and, the art teacher comes in and you're supposed to draw, and so I did it. Right. I didn't know how to use the brushes. I didn't know how to use the paint. It was acrylic paints. And I started to paint. It was like a blue sky, dark blue sky, and this beautiful sunflower. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you paint a sunflower? So what do? You go on YouTube and you Google how to paint a sunflower. And that's exactly what I did. And this wonderful artist, did it, and I just copied her. And there it was. So when John comes home from work and he sees me outside, and I said, what do you think? He said, oh, that looks really nice. I said, yeah, it's like a child's painting. And that's how you start. You start at infancy. And that's how you start. It's my first painting. I never want to sell it. I don't put it up at an exhibition. And, when I die and I become famous, it'll be worth millions. But until then, it's in one of our lower rooms where the small library is.
Until then, keep it safe. You'll keep it safe.
Yeah. And then we've been to so many national parks, I think 33 by now. We started with a Grand Canyon in 2005. Oh, no, 2010. And so we've had these wonderful pictures, and I just love the national parks. I love hiking. I love the solitude, the trails, the wildlife, and constantly moving, going uphill, downhill, terrain, flat trails, whatever. And I said, I'm going to start painting memories of our national park hikes. My first solo exhibition was at a local library, and I selected 12 of my best paintings, and they became my exhibition for a month in February of 2024. And that was how it all got started. So, and when I look at my paintings, it's very interesting because in the beginning, you don't really know what you're doing. I had to learn perspective. Sometimes things were crooked. There are paintings. I have paintings in every single room of our house. The bad ones are down here. The better ones are upstairs, and it's just a process. And when I look at all my paintings, I can't tell you how I did it, like what took place, but I can tell you that the process with every stroke of the brush, I tell a new story, and I get better, and I learn new things. I've never taken a class, but I like to watch art shows. There's a wonderful art show called Landscape Artist of the Year. It's a British series. It's on Prime, And it's very similar to the British Bake Off, where, and I have learned so much because these judges, they just appreciate anyone. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be professional. You just love to paint. And many of these people have jobs, and some of them went to art school, some of them didn't. So I have been so inspired by this show. I think it's like 20 seasons. I think I'm on season 10. And I've learned so much. And I also learn too and get inspired when I participate in these art exhibitions, because there are fellow artists, some who've been painting for a very long time, some who've just started. And these exhibitions, many of them are open to people as young as 18 till whatever. And so I see paintings and I'm like, oh my God, I really like that. Or, gee, how do they do that? I just love it. I never in a million years imagined I would become an Ultrarunner, nor did I imagine I would become a painter. Never. And I'm so happy that I've been on both of those journeys.
Right. This description of yours, the path in such a short amount of time to become and see yourself as and be the painter, is the way you described it. We could be talking about just about anything that you discovered that you liked, that you enjoyed. I love the artwork, but that's not the first time I saw you. I first came into awareness of you because of the bold, that's the best way to say it, the bold handle. There's a woman on Instagram that calls herself UltraMiriam. Now, you're making a proclamation, my friend, when you say, I'm UltraMiriam. So when I saw that, and then I saw some of your content and some of the images, a smile all the time, it was just inspiring, and I was so intrigued to hear more about you. So let's take me there. Like, how and what is UltraMiriam, and how in the world did you come up with that?
How did I become UltraMiriam? That's a really good question. I didn't know anything about Instagram. I was ignorant. My kids know all that stuff. And my son, I think the year was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And he's home for a couple of days. And we're talking about Instagram. And Sebastian says, Mom, you need to get an Instagram. Because I had just been published in Huffington Post. I became a Huffington Post contributor back in the day. You need to, share what you're writing, and you need to share your ultra running and your spirituality. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So he gets his phone and he's telling me, because he's on, right? And I said, so what do I do? He says, you got to create a handle. You got to call yourself something. I said, what's a handle? What do I call myself? What do you mean? My name? He goes, and then he says, Mom, what's your name? Miriam. And what do you run ultras? Yeah. There you go. You're UltraMiriam. And that's it. That's how to, I'm UltraMiriam, and what do I do? And he showed me what to do. And that's how it all got started. So everything is UltraMiriam. My Facebook page is UltraMiriam. My Instagram, everything is UltraMiriam. And that's how it all got started. And actually, when I created my Instagram for my paintings, I'm now paintings_by_Miriam. Because all my paintings are signed to Miriam.
That's
paintings
perfect.
And so...
What does running give you that nothing else does?
Okay. I've always said, and I've always felt this way, and then sometimes there are distractions and you lose track. But for me, running, from the very beginning, I started running in college when I suffered a college breakup. It was very devastating for me, okay? And so I've always been very athletic too, but not very good at any sports because I was always tall and lanky, and the coaches never knew what to do with me. If they could see me now, boy, oh man, what a mistake they made. Second, putting me on the bench. But anyway, I've got a better story. Anyway, and so I started just running to help me heal through the breakup. And I would run at night on campus. Campus was safe, and I could cry and no one could see my tears, you know. And then I discovered, wait, I really like running, and it's good, and I feel good, and I sweat everything out, and I have a lot of energy, and apparently I was pretty good at it. And then as I got older, and then John and I, when we met, we ran recreationally, but every time I've run, for me, it has always been my conversation with God. It's a very spiritual experience for me. And it's my time with God. And when I run, I feel God's presence. In fact, years ago, maybe over 20 years ago, I was on one of our roads by our house, and I was training for a marathon, and I had about a mile and a half to go till I, got home. And honestly, my feet, I was flying. I was so tired, but my feet went off the ground, and at that moment, it was God lifting me to just carry me a couple of more steps. And I can't explain it. There is a term for that in research. I can't remember what it is. It's not runner's high. It's not that. So at every ultra, every race that I have God and my family. And I also, when I run, it's a very meditative process. It's I'm free, and it's a wonderful distraction when times are bad. Like, we're living in turbulent times. Running, to me, is just a peaceful moment that is all mine. Okay,
that's beautiful.
And that's important.
That's beautiful. When I look at your ultra sign up, you've done so many races. Here's something I noticed, that you do many different formats. And so does the spiritual, the grace that you run with and through and under and with and supported by and support, it's clear that's what it sounds like. Is that with you on every type of and every format of running? You do something I haven't heard a lot of people doing, which is track ultras. So talk about the different types of terrain over the years, and talk about even spiritually, your relationship with God. Is it different with each type of format? How does it show up in each different format? That's a really good question. Let me see if I can cover it. A very good question. Well, I can tell you that when I ran trail ultras, like out, in the trails, in the solitude of the woods, God is present, because God is guiding me. Sometimes you're a mid-pack runner and you're alone, and sometimes you're a backpack runner and you're alone, and sometimes a couple of times I've gotten lost, and it's God that has directed me and guided me. So I definitely feel God's presence in trail ultras. And then running an ultra, let's say on a 3-mile loop, road ultra, you're not alone because people are closer to you, and it's a public place. So you're not out in the woods, but there are those moments when you start to get sleep deprived and you start to hallucinate, and God is with me. So even if it's really dark and I'm the only one there, I don't feel lost. I don't feel scared. And I always thank God. I try to at the end of every mile. Thank you, God, for taking me this far. Thank you, God, for giving me the strength to continue. Thank you, God. I know that without your presence, this is not possible. And this is true. I would not be able to run the ultras that I've run without God and without my family. How does God appear with you when you're doing a track ultra? Talk about track ultras, because that's the most challenging, it feels to me, imagining it.
Well, you know what? I never in a million years thought, I used to say, those people are nuts. Why are they running circular, in a track.
I could say that today.
Yeah, that's so boring, and then I realized, there are events in our lives, there are moments in our lives that changes everything for us that we didn't expect, but we're so grateful that the change occurred. And the reason I started running ultras was because John could no longer pace me where pacing would be allowed in other ultras, like a trail ultra. Okay. And in the trail ultra, I have fallen a couple of times. And what if I fell and John couldn't take care of me? Because at the time he had been diagnosed with stage 4. He'd been going through chemotherapy. And so thank God that there is the Dawn to Dusk to Dawn 24-hour track ultra, which I had known about, but never wanted to register for it. It's not far from home. It's in the next state. And when I did try to sign up, it fills really fast. Okay. And finally, I registered and I did this track ultra, and I felt good and safe and secure that, one, I'm going to try a new challenge. This new challenge is going to be for my self-care as John's caregiver. And I know that John doesn't have to worry about me as I'm collecting miles. He knows when to feed me. We have our tent set up. We have our air mattress. He knows he's going to go to sleep, and that I can continue on this track because it's very well lit. So it's not dark. And the race director is always present. Always. He doesn't leave. Okay.
Where's the tent? Where's John at? Like, is he?
Oh, we put the tents. Everyone pitches their tent, so it's around the track.
On the outside of the track. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the porta potties and all of that. And there's at this track ultra, there's a concession, and where there's food there, they feed the runners. It's such I'll be running it, I think, my 6th time if I sign up for May. Yeah, it's always Mother's Day weekend. Yeah. Okay. And that year was 2019, my first track ultra. I was doing really well, and then it rained the last 11 hours.
Oh my goodness.
The last 11 hours on a 24-hour event. Nonstop rain, sideways rain, all kinds of rain, really, really cold. And my feet, I was tired. I was soaking wet. I tried to put all kinds of clothes on me. I didn't bring enough rain gear. I took off my shoes and I tried to do laps with in my Birkenstocks. I've done that in a couple of ultras. But I kept slipping because they would get wet,
Yeah, on the track.
And I didn't want to disturb John. He needed his sleep because the track event starts at 7 in the morning on Saturday and ends at 7 in the morning on Sunday. And, of course, it rained. It was terrible. And then Monday morning, he had to be at the hospital at 6 a.m. for his surgery. So, but at that time, I am collecting healing miles for John's successful surgery and for his surgeon. The surgery took 8 hours. Yeah. And so we had no time. We came home, we ate a little bit. I showered. We binge watched episodes of Game of Thrones. And we went to bed early because we had to get up. And I can't say, oh, I'm too sore or I lost a toenail. You're too sore? Get up, move. It's good. Movement is good. Movement is good. And for 8 hours, I was in the family lounge writing. In fact, I wrote one of my articles for Medium, that platform for writers, on how I trained for my first 24-hour track ultra and locked 81 miles. And I was on pace for like 90 or 95. If it hadn't rained, I would have done it. But God had other plans. And I was so happy when it was all over because it was over, but because it was my first track ultra. And those miles had purpose. So my running since John, it's always been you run for a purpose. There is a why, but now my purpose was very clear. I'm doing this, number one, for my own well-being and self-care, and number two, for John's healing. And so it's the whole time I'm praying. I remember I ran the Naked Prussian 50-mile trail ultra, which is a really tough course. It's ascents, descents, very technical terrain. And I missed the first cutoff at mile 26 by 7 minutes. And I remember the guys in front of me made the cut, and they tell one of the race directors who's logging everyone on the clipboard, we're dropping out. And the guy says, yeah, but you met the cutoff. They were so exhausted. And I'm like, well, can I go? Because I still want to go, and they want to quit. And he said, no, you can't go.
It doesn't work that way. I want to pause you. I want to pause you right there, because that's a whole other chapter of how you really move forward with races. But I want to take you back for a second after completing the first track ultra, and John has a surgery. In that moment, it feels like in that moment, caregiving as endurance, it's that. And miles of gratitude, and you're running for someone else. And did all of that come into play at that first track ultra the day before John's surgery? Is that what happened?
Yes, because this is whatever John was going through, grueling chemotherapy, the surgery would be grueling. And I know that running this track ultra with 11 hours of rain, where I'm freezing cold, whatever suffering I endure, that would be nothing compared to what John would endure. His suffering was greater. So I have no reason to complain. And so that's what kept me going. And the entire time, I'm praying. I pray to the saints. I pray to God. And I get energy to keep going for all those friends and family who have passed on as a result of cancer. I've lost family members to cancer. I've lost friends to cancer. And I think about the suffering that they endure, that I have nothing to cry about. They give me the strength. Can you believe that? They give me the strength to carry on. So that's how I look at suffering.
Is that what changed, what you just described about how you now reflect in the world about others and caring for others? Is that what changed when running stopped being just about you?
When I first started running, it was healing for myself, and then that God gave me this gift of running.
Okay.
Running is a gift. Okay. And that I could do it, and I always have enjoyed running. It's never been, this is a drag, and I've never experienced burnout, because I know it's an experience that I enjoy. I'm not doing it to be number one. I'm not doing it to be the fastest. I'm not doing it to break any records. I'm not a competitive person. I'm the least competitive person you'll ever meet. I'm just enjoying this moment called life. And that's how I've always been. And then, as, I ran with my kid, and my kids were always there. My poor kids, they probably hated going to ultras. Oh, another ultra mom is dragging us. We drive, hours and hours. But they were there, feeding me, changing my socks, putting the sunscreen on, telling me go. And in some ultras where patients were allowed at certain points, my son would pace me, my daughter would pace me, John would pace me. So it's always been a family affair. And I could never do it without my family. Maybe I could now as an older person who has had the experience and knows what is required, But my family has been so supportive all these years. Yeah. And even my grandchildren. When John, as I was getting ready for my 60th birthday, I ran to celebrate my birthday. Mm-hmm. We were not going to have a party. And I wanted to celebrate my birthday and at the same time run healing miles for John. Okay. So we were spending a couple of days late Christmas with my daughter and her family, her husband and her 2 little children. Mm-hmm. And then my son and his wife, and they didn't have children at the time. And I ran a 1-mile loop around my daughter's neighborhood.
Okay.
It was December. It was freezing cold. Started at 6 o'clock in the morning. And it was like, okay, begin. And, and then the sun came out. It was really, really cold. And I was really tired. And I think it was like mile 35. They took turns pacing me.
Aww.
Yeah. And at one point, I was like, really out of it. And my son was pacing me. He says, Mom, you have to be careful. Look where you're going. You almost got hit by a car. I'm like, what? No, I didn't. He says, you didn't because I pulled you, But, and then my grandchildren, my son-in-law and my grandson Sawyer, and he pushed him in the stroller. And my granddaughter, Jordan, she did 3/4 miles. And then my daughter and my son and everyone chipped in. And on the sidewalk, every time I finished a lap, my daughter would put a mark, till all the laps were done. And I did it in like 14 hours and 50 minutes or something. Of course, unofficial time according to my Garmin, Right. And they also had a watch inside the house, And it was a wonderful experience.
How long did
14 hours and I think 53 minutes or something like that, which was fine.
How many laps did you do laps?
Oh, that's a good question. I wrote an article about that. I don't know how many laps I did.
Okay.
But they're all it's on my blog, and you'll see the sidewalk, the picture that my daughter took with all the markings.
That's adorable.
Yeah, and so and then John, the last half mile, John just walked with me, and we finished it off. Yeah. So every ultra since 2019 has been about running healing miles for John, and then for myself when I was diagnosed with early stage breast cancer in April of 2024, 2 years ago. And I found out that I had early stage breast cancer when I was training for another Dawn to Dusk to Dawn 24-hour ultra, and I fell. I tripped over a uneven sidewalk. When I took my eyes off the sidewalk, as I see a car approaching, and I think he's lost, and he's not lost. I fall, I get up, and he just looked at me, and he didn't say, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" He just stared at me, and then I stared back, and I said, "Are you lost?" I was really kind of pissed at that moment because I fell trying to help a stranger, and he didn't seem fazed by it at all. And long story short, I had terrible soreness on my rib and my right side and my right breast. And long story short, 2 weeks later, I called my doctor. My ribs were fine, no broken bones, but I went in for my mammogram. I said, "Can you just take a x-ray of my breast? Maybe I have internal bleeding or a little hematoma." And they said, "Well, you know what? And you also need to get your." I said, "You know what? Just order the mammogram," because for the first time in my life, I skipped it. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to get it previous October, and now it's March. And they called me back the next day, and it all happened so fast. But thank God they caught it early. And then I realized that this man wearing dark glasses in a blue car with salt and pepper hair who didn't say a word was actually an angel sent by God to nudge me, "Miriam, get that mammogram and get it now." I believed that, so it was divine intervention. If I hadn't gone out that day and had not fallen, I would not have known.
Yeah.
And probably it would have been more advanced the following
Thank goodness.
October.
Thank God. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
You have lived, Miriam, you've lived a long life. And health issues don't arrive once. It almost like you have different seasons of your life with different types of health kind of issues, almost like you've got major health events in your life. You've mentioned a couple of them already, handful. And each one is a turning point, I suppose. So how do you decide whether, okay, I'm going to pause now versus just push on? And what did you learn each time a new health issue comes up, including when you're caretaking? Each time something comes up, what do you learn about listening to your body?
Yeah, I've always been really good at listening to my body. One thing that when it comes to my body and my health and challenges, and one thing that I didn't mention the first time we spoke, but I do write about it in my book, Come With Me, I Want to Run. I had my appendix removed when I was 8 years old. And that was the first time I felt pain and suffering. I don't know if you've ever had your appendix removed, but back in the day, you were in the hospital for 8 days, and it was very painful. It was painful for 2 weeks. And then my parents took me to the emergency room, and I was admitted, and blah, blah, blah. But that happened a week before school started. And there's no way that I was going to miss the first day of school. You understand? I mustn't miss school. And back in the day, we walked to school, okay? So I had on my new dress. My mom, God rest her soul, may she rest in peace, would always buy myself and my sisters new outfits for the first day of school. And I remember walking in my kind of red, orange, yellow flower print dress with my flats. And I go to school. I'm in 4th grade, and my teacher, Mrs. Parziel, says, "Miriam, what are you doing? You shouldn't be in school. We know that you had your appendix removed." And I said, "I can't miss the first day of school." And that's how determined I am. Like, what's a little pain? All right. So I suffered. The appendix is out. I am good to go. And it's always been like that. And, so.
Did that set the stage for every time a new health encounter came up?
No, that didn't set the stage. What set the stage, and this is where my faith comes in.
Okay.
And where God comes in and healing comes in. When I was 3 months old, I was admitted to the hospital, according to my mom. My mom was a really good storyteller. She said I was in the hospital for 30 days with a distended belly and unable to keep formula down, okay? And after 30 days, my mom said that the doctor said, we don't know what else to do for her. She'll get better. And my mother, of course, had complete faith in medicine and modern medicine, but she knew better. So what did she do? She took me to the faith healer in her barrio in Puerto Rico. Doña Salvadora López, may she rest in peace. And the story my mother tells me, and of course I believe her, my mother would not make this up. And I know about faith healing. It's medically documented, faith healing across cultures. So she took me to the faith healer, and for 2 weeks, my mother said at the church, where in her village, for 2 weeks, the faith healer would take me into the sanctuary while my mother was on her knees praying to a Virgin Mary for intercession. And for 2 weeks, this faith healer massaged my belly with, I guess, special oils and fed me herbal tea from her herbal garden. And I was good to go 2 weeks later, and I'm back in Connecticut. And
How old
so
were you? How old
I
were
was
you?
3 months. I was 3 months old.
Oh, so okay. So this is stories your mother would tell you over the years. Okay.
Right. And so I said to my mom, and she said, I knew that you would get sick. I said, well, how do you know that I would get sick? There are some culture-bound syndromes in all cultures. And Madeline Leninger, she was a nurse researcher. She passed away many years ago, but she's written volumes on this. So what my mother told me was not made up. There is many cases like this. So I said, she said, the reason why you got sick, you were 30 days in the hospital, is because you got empacho, which is EMPACHO. And I don't understand what that was, because sometimes we say, I have empacho, meaning I'm full, my belly's full, I ate too much. And I said, well, how did I get empacho? She said, the day that you were baptized at St. Sebastian's Church in New York City, we were outside with the priest, and your godmother was holding you and blah, blah, blah. And a woman walked by, and she said, oh, what a pretty baby, about me. And she walked away. And my mother told me at that moment she knew that I would be sick because the woman gave me the evil eye. And the evil eye is in all cultures, and mal ojo. And I said, but she said that I was pretty, so why is that a bad thing? And she said, because she didn't follow up with God bless her. And so that's what my mother believes, and I believe. And I think also I might have gotten sick because I was fed formula. My mom did not nurse us. I was fed formula, and I did some research on the ingredients in formula back then in the 50s, filled with Karo syrup in corn syrup. And that stuff's poison. So my body did not tolerate it well. But I think, and then my mom praying for my healing, I learned to pray for healing from my mother and from my father, And so faith healing is very, very important. And it's well documented across cultures, Vietnamese cultures, Hispanic cultures, European cultures, all kinds of cultures. So it's a very interesting field. And this knowledge was really good for me to have and to use when I worked as an emergency room clerk when I was a senior in college, and then when I was in graduate school. I learned a lot. And I shared my experience with the doctors and nurses, and they thought it was fascinating and useful for them to know, because they don't learn this stuff in medical school or nursing school. Yeah.
You're culturally informed, and so many stories to travel along with an anchor of a health matter. And 2019 is when you turn 60, and you're just not stopping anytime soon. That's for sure. There's aging, there's wisdom, there's longevity. You didn't start late, but there's a difference between starting late and continuing long. There's differences between patience and rest and adaptation. And older runners seem to understand that. Why do you run now? And how is that different from earlier chapters? And by now, I guess, let's take from 2019, like all after you turn 60 and all the many different types of races you've done, and you've covered so many gratitude miles for people. How is it different now than it was when you were much younger?
That's a good question. Yes, it absolutely does change, Now it's like, I've been breathing so well all these years with running. Why stop? I enjoy it. It's healthy. It's not an addiction. It's not an obsession. For me, my running, my power walking, my ultra events, they are a healthy practice. And that's the difference. I'm not obsessive about it. I'm not addicted. Like some people, they can't miss a day of running. I can miss 2-3 days. it's all good, And I'm more, and as we get older, it takes our bodies longer to recover. And I know that. And that's key. And rest days are so important. And I think all these years, when I've asked myself, I have been running every year since 1988 when I ran my first 5K. Okay. Every year, that's how it all got started. And I train year round. Like, I don't take time off because I don't have a race till the summer. It doesn't mean I'm going to take off the winter, you know, because that's just me maintaining my good health. And I know that as we get older, and I think it's also, I inherited from my father. God bless him. My father is still alive. He's 95. And he played semi-pro and adult league baseball, hardball, and softball for 30 years. Wow. Yes, he was a pitcher. And I get my athleticism from my father. And you know why he stopped playing pitching?
Why?
I forget what year it was, but at the time he was 62.
Okay.
And his appendix burst.
Ooh.
That's another thing we have in common. His appendix burst. And he was very seriously ill because sepsis was starting to set in. And we, John and I threw our kids in the car and we drove to Connecticut, to the hospital. And when we entered the room, he had like a clear tent over him. Okay. And he was like breathing and this and that. And the doctor walks in. And the first question my father asked the doctor is, when can I go home? I have a game on Saturday. And that's when I knew that's my father.
At 62, I love this guy. I love him.
And so he wasn't really able to play much longer after that, because he had to, rehab and recover at his age. But he's revered in our town, and he's been a wonderful role model for younger baseball players. They really look up to him.
Clearly, his attitude is rubbed off on you. That's for sure.
That's why I'm just like my father in that way. In fact, I also look like my father. Yeah, and when in 2012, 3 days after I placed third in a 12-hour ultra, I had a scheduled total hysterectomy 3 days later. We planned it that day because it was after my daughter got married. So, and I had this ultra and blah, blah, blah. And okay, we can get it in, no problem. Well, unfortunately, the hysterectomy went haywire. Long story short, I was on leave for almost 6 months, and I had 4 surgeries in a 10-month period. And one of the first things that the surgery created, when the surgeon cut my left ureter, transected it during the hysterectomy, and nobody knew about this. Then they said, you got a CAT scan and you have a small bowel obstruction. And I was like so relieved because I said, oh, a small bowel obstruction. I'm talking to myself. My father had one a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And look how strong he is. So I must have inherited his digestive tract. And that's not the case at all.
Okay.
I
can imagine how it would make sense, though, to your brain. Sure.
Yeah. And so, but I was seriously ill. My husband did not tell me that until much later, a couple of years later.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, this is an ultra of a different kind. I can see the finish. And if I can do an ultra, and I can move and I can lose toenails and I can get sleep deprived and I can hallucinate, this is nothing. And so I was never scared. I was never worried. My husband was, but he didn't show it. Things just got progressively worse. Finally, they had to put a nephrostomy tube in my left kidney. And I didn't know what that was. They said, you need a nephrostomy. And I'm like, what's a nephrostomy? And they explained it to me, and that's when I broke down. That was the first time I broke down during this medical nightmare. The urologist who came in as a consult in the operating room later told John and told me that he was shocked that he thought I had the hysterectomy the day before he came in. I went back to the OR on Labor Day. He thought I had the hysterectomy the day before Labor Day, and then he learned that I had the hysterectomy on August 1st.
Month
and that's
before.
when the ureter. Yeah. And so he said, basically, I'm shocked that you're not in worse condition. Like, I could have easily died from sepsis, but my body was in such good physical shape from all my years of running.
Right.
My immune system was so strong.
It's inspiring when you hear that, Miriam, because it really is like those health events arrived in different seasons. And the fact that you had so many ultras, you're like, oh, okay, it's another ultra. So now I'm realizing, wait a minute, that's a whole different discussion on formats. So I'm looking at the races between the age of 60 and now, and there's a lot of timed events. I've never done one of those.
Oh, you should. I think you would love it.
Talk about it. Why are they so satisfying? Like, does the location matter, number one? And then why are they so satisfying?
Well, you will not fall. You will not take a tumble. You will not trip over rocks, on a track. If that's what you're asking about.
Okay, are they? But they're not all on tracks, are they? Or well, maybe they are. Are all?
No, the time events, they're either on a track or they're usually on a 1 mile or less loop.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. The ones that I've been in, and so I'm like, okay, so it's going to be a boring 0.99011 mile loop, but you're not alone, and so there is this energy. We feed off each other, and usually in these events, you'll have different time events. Like there's a 12-hour, there's a 24-hour, there's a 48-hour. Okay, the one that I'll be going back to in April, there's the 6-day, there's the 3-day, there's the 48-hour, there is the 24-hour, and there is the 12-hour. So,
Stop for 2025, last April, the old 6-day, which is not a very old race, I've learned, right? So 3 days,
right.
70. Wait, is this right? Let me dial this in. At 66 years old, I'm leaning into the screen without my glasses to make sure it's right. Wait, 72 hours, you ran 143 miles?
Yes. And I wouldn't say that I ran them. I would say that I power walked them.
You covered the earth, but 143 miles in 3 days. And, look at that. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, she's on the podium, right? For your age group. Is that what that is? Yeah.
It was a female course record. So I guess because of my age, it's a master's record because of my age. I forgot to tell you that it rained the entire time. And the course flooded.
Wait. Is that the picture? I hope it is, because my favorite image.
With the garbage bag?
Yes.
Yes, that's the Ultra. And that's not even the bad picture. They're worse at night.
I can't wait to put that up as I edit this in post. I'm going to put this image up. It is so worthy of celebration, Miriam, because I need to listen a little more to you about how to overcome the. I can't keep myself entertained, but it seems there's monotony here. Like how if it's only a mile and you went 140 of them or whatever, that's a lot. I mean, how do you keep yourself,
Well, what's important is good food. So I make all my food at home. And yes, you have, because I can't have chemicals, everything is homemade, free of chemicals. Okay, so I had pizza, I had chocolate donuts, I had soup, I had cake, I had all the good stuff.
And you made it all. Oh my goodness. That's a great plan.
Yeah. And I take pictures. Yeah. And I made it all. And John helps me and then he feeds me and it's all good. Sleep is critical. So the first night, I think the first 24 hours or the first day, whatever, I think I logged 54 miles and then I stopped. And the good news is that because we live 25 minutes away from this place, we could drive home I would throw myself in the shower, remove all my clothes, and then I said, John, I'm going to take a nap for 2.5 hours. Time me, okay? Set the alarm. And he would set the alarm, and I would wake up refreshed, and he would make me breakfast, and then we'd jump back in the car and go back, and it's like a whole new day. Another gift has been, bestowed on me. And then I did it the second night. Oh, my God. It poured, raining sideways. The track got flooded, especially lane 1 and 2, which is where we are. Because it's closest to the grass, so it got all wet and muddy, and then the power went out for like a split second. It was completely dark, but I think I was at like mile 93. I wanted to hit 99, and I said, I can't. I said, John, I can't. Let's just go home. I want to shower. I want to sleep. I want to eat. And then we came back again. And that next night, I didn't sleep. I took an hour nap in the car. It was freezing. You blast on the heat. But then, it's so well lit, and you're looking at your friends, and you're looking at your new friends that you met, and it's a suffer fest filled with joy, is the way I see it. And so we just feed off each other. We know how we're feeling, and we just keep smiling. It's gotta see, as long as you got your smile, you're good to go. And then when it's getting towards the end, like 1 hour, oh my God, this is gonna be so good. Just 1 hour, it's the best feeling. And then we're all just high with endorphins at the end. Yeah.
Would you recommend? How do I pick a race like that? I think now I'm sold. I want to find a timed event.
Oh, wonderful.
Should I, what you just said, though, seems to be so critical. If I could find one that is close by.
Yes, find one close by.
Being able to drive there, even if it's an hour there, an hour back, it's still.
Yes, definitely do it. And also, most of these events, there will also be hotels nearby. So there were some runners who were also much older than me who flew in from other states. And they stayed at the hotel near the park, and they could just go to the hotel, take a shower, eat, and then come back. And so it's a community of lunatics, okay? But it works for us. But so definitely do it. But you want to go in with an open mind and just say, I'm here for the ride. I'm going to see how far I can go, and I'm not going to push myself. I'm not going to, sometimes runners go out fast and they get injured, and then they have to drop, or even though there's no such thing as a DNF unless you drop early on, but you run as many in these time races, you collect as many miles within the time limit. So some people just say, I just want to do 50 miles, so I signed up for the 24-hour. Okay, and then they're done after that. Yeah. I, on the other hand, I'm there to the last second because I am a committed person, and I pay lots of money for this event, and I'm going to get a bang for my buck.
I'm going to get my money's worth. I'm going to walk
You got that right.
I'm not stopping the 72-hour race until 72 hours has passed.
It says, or where they have to drag me off this track.
This is so much fun. I really can see myself now. First, when I saw the garbage bag on you, I'm like, I'm doing that race. But now to hear the story with it, now I definitely want to do it. What's exciting? What are you excited about next? Whatever that means to you. What are you excited about next?
Well, what I'm excited about next is of course, the 6-day. Actually, it's called the old 6-day because it took place in the 80s and 90s, and then it stopped. And this new young race directors revived it. So it's been around for years, but it stopped, and it used to take place on a dirt track.
Ooh.
Just a dirt track, not dirt, cinder block.
Oh, cinder.
Yes, cinder, right. And now it's this real beautiful, nice track. And it's a USATF track and field certified track. So I've done a 24, I've done 248 hours, and then the 72-hour opportunity came, and I'm like, it's calling me. I'm going to do the 72-hour, and I'm going to do it because we're close to home. And then they skipped from 72 to 144, no in between. So now I'm going to do, instead of 3 days, I said, if I can do the 3 days, I can certainly do the 6-day. And if I run, or if I collect 3 miles an hour for 144 hours, that's 430 plus miles. But I'm not going to be doing that for 439 miles because I have to get my beauty sleep. I have to eat my calories. I have to get my blisters, drained. I have to take my shower. I have to get dressed again.
Of course.
Yeah, so it's possible. And I just hope that we have good weather. I hope it doesn't rain. But April is, anything can happen in April. Snow, rain, heat, that kind of month. The dawn to dusk to dawn, a 24-hour, 1 year, was it 2020 or 20? Oh, it was after COVID. The pandemic was over. It rained for 24 straight hours with gale force winds. Tents went flying.
Wow.
We didn't pitch our tent. We just got in the car, and that's how I kept warm. And I had to go a distance to get in the car. I ate everything in the car, and I was soaking wet, but I was armed with all kinds of rain jackets, heavy rain jackets, light rain jackets, everything. And then I would change, and then John would drive to a laundromat and dry them, my clothes, and then come back. And then he went to one place, it's called Foreman Mills, where you get really cheap clothes, and he got himself a new pair of jeans and some rain pants. It was great, and that year I got third female, actually tied, but because I ran it, I finished it 20 seconds faster than the next female runner.
Wow.
It was also amazing, yeah.
A close one.
It was a close one. I'd stopped training for a little while at night, but it was so cold. And we would just get in the car, and I'm like freezing. But then you just get out. And the whole time I'm thinking, this suffering is nothing compared to what John's been through. Compared to what people have gone through who are facing or did not survive their cancer.
That is so beautiful. What do you hope that listeners, and we spent a beautiful hour, and you've got so much grace and gratitude and fun stories, and you wove them all together, and the through lines of all the health crises. What do we want listeners to hear the most from this conversation?
Well, suffering will make you very resilient. And I think that's really important. Resiliency. There was a saying that I saw once on a documentary about the Iditarod many, many years ago. And the guy that was the focus of the documentary, who would win almost every year, he had this torn up sign above a door or whatever that said, "Tough times don't last, tough people do." And I've never forgotten that. So when times are hard, remember that you have strength within you. Suffering is part of life. Like, I cannot imagine living a suffer-free life. I can't. Not that I like to suffer, but I'm good at it. Okay. And with suffering comes joy. Joy awaits at the end of the finish line. And that finish line could be any challenge in your life. A health scare, a health issue, a terrible, awful time in the workplace, which I've endured, anything that can happen. But you have to always remember that there's something greater than you. And, you don't have to be, like, I'm a believer, I believe in God, but there's a lot of research that shows that, for example, ultrarunners of all faiths or, who believe in a higher power, who are Buddhist, who, whatever their faith is, have this connection in spirituality. And spirituality doesn't mean that, it's not religion, okay? Those are two different things. When you go out there, on the trails, I just love nature. It's so calming and so peaceful. And to me, I have to, I was thinking about this. I was talking to my husband one day, what would I want on my tombstone or whatever, which, by the way, I'm not going to get because I'm going to be cremated. But anyway, she endured much suffering, but she never lost her childlike sense of awe and wonder. And that's what
drop that going. Microphone, Miriam. That's it right there. You told us, you finished the sentence within the last hour when you said running is a gift, and it's been a gift to you. So last question here. When you think ahead, all the years ahead, what are you saying yes to?
I'm saying yes to everything that's good and hopeful. Bring it on. And so I'm saying yes to more paintings. I'm saying yes to more gardening. I'm saying yes to more ultra events where I will be 90 and still moving. Slow and steady finishes the race. And that's how you get it.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here today. I love your energy and the stories. I'm going to get myself a garbage bag. I'm going to go to a timed race. And if I'm so fortunate, I'm going to get myself to the East Coast. And maybe if I'm lucky enough, I'll see you out there. Thank you very much today.
That would be great. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. It's just a pure joy talking with you.
Me too. I enjoyed it. Okay. I will see you out there on the trails.
Okay.